Hi everyone, I am starting this vlog as the plane is being pushed back from the gate. This was an unplanned trip report and totally spontaneous. I am on board Etihad Airways flight EY428 and this is actually my connecting flight from Abu Dhabi to Manila. My partner and I arrived from Paris the night before and we actually had a 10-hour layover at Abu Dhabi International Airport. Well, now we have a 9-hour layover because the flight was delayed leaving Paris. We initially thought of leaving the airport and checking into a hotel nearby, but we decided not to do so because this would entail for us to get a visa just to leave the airport. So instead, we booked a room at the Abu Dhabi Airport Hotel, which was conveniently located in Terminal 1 airside, so we didn't have to go through immigration, and that proved to be a good idea because it was very convenient. As soon as we landed from Paris, all we did is that we went through security, walked from Terminal 3 all the way to Terminal 1 and checked into our hotel room. Now, this was a very good idea from the beginning because we were able to catch up on our sleep, and not to mention we were also able to shower before hopping on to our connecting flight to Manila. We were initially thinking of doing a lounge, but I'm so glad that on hindsight, we decided to check in at the Abu Dhabi Airport Hotel because it proved to be a much more sane decision. At this point of the video, the aircraft is about to take off. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell a little story while we will see the coastline of Abu Dhabi from my airplane window. It was actually the first time that my partner and I was flying round trip on Etihad Airways, and I was initially very excited about it. When I booked this ticket, I was actually so glad that there was an option for us to choose seats in advance for a fee. Now, this is no problem for me because it's important that I choose the right seat for my partner because he has a little bit of anxiety and claustrophobia when flying inside an airplane. So sometimes if we can afford it, we buy seats at the bulkhead or a few seats on the emergency exit. And if we don't, we're saving money, we don't mind sitting him on the aisle seat and I sit either on the middle or the window seat. It really doesn't matter as long as he is able to sit in a seat wherein he is comfortable and he doesn't feel closed in. Now, on the day of our flight from Manila to Abu Dhabi, I was so shocked that after checking in and we were already going inside the airplane, I have realized as we were nearing our seats that the seat assignment on our boarding pass was not the seat that I initially chose when booking the ticket. Now, let me say that I did receive an email from Etihad Airways 6 days after I have booked this ticket, but what was stated in that email was that our outbound flight, our Manila to Abu Dhabi flight, was retimed and was leaving 25 minutes later than as scheduled. Now, when I read this on the cover letter, I didn't mind it at all because it was not going to affect our connecting flights to Barcelona. Now, there was nothing stated in that email that said that our chosen seats were reassigned, and I was also not informed of the reason why my booking reference number was changed. Now, in the midst of boarding on the plane, I decided to double check all the emails that Etihad Airways sent me, and I did check the new ticket that they sent me, and it was actually indicated there our new seating arrangement. Now, I do not appreciate this because I feel very blindsided by it because they should have stated it in my cover letter that the seats that I chose for a fee in advance were actually reassigned and I could have been given a chance or an option to choose a seat that is comfortable for the both of us. Now, to cut the long story short, my partner got reseated on the Manila-Abu Dhabi flight, which I truly appreciate, and kudos to the flight crew who handled him, mainly because he was on the verge of having a panic attack, especially when he found out that he was seated on the middle seat. Now, that's a bad seat for someone who has anxiety and claustrophobia. Now, I also took the time to actually have a discussion with a customer service agent on the Etihad Twitter page because I didn't really appreciate how this reassignment of seats was handled. As soon as we landed in Abu Dhabi, I quickly connected into the airport Wi-Fi and went into the Etihad Airways app to change the reassigned seats that was given to us for our Paris-Manila flight. It was when I was doing this, I realized that the bulkhead seats and the seats at the emergency exits were now free for us to choose without a fee, and I was very grateful for that. So I chose 33A, which is a window seat, and Cholo chose 32D, which is an aisle seat. Now, although we're far from each other, the important thing is we're both comfortable. 33A is a window seat located on the emergency exits after the wing of this Boeing 787-10. Now, being at the emergency exits, the door here is going to be much more bulkier than usual because there are slides located here. So if you are taller than me and I only stand at 5 foot 8.5 inches tall, you might have a problem when you extend your feet fully. Now, this part is also quite claustrophobic for me because it encloses and the shape of the fuselage changes because it actually nears the wing, so it becomes more narrow at this part. Now, my seat pockets, quote unquote, was located on the wall of the fuselage to my left, right beside my window, and I was actually quite surprised that it extended. So it's been a while since I've been on a 787. The remote control is located on the right hand side of my seat, and the charging ports are located just below it on the left hand side. Now, it was actually quite easy to remove the in-flight entertainment system from its encasing in my chair because I do remember one time when I flew on Oman Air, I could not remove it at all to the point that I couldn't use the in-flight entertainment system. Now, by the way, the plug for the earphones is located on the armrest on the right, and this is how the entertainment system looks like, and they call it their e-box. Now, I have to say the quality of the picture that I am seeing here is actually very good because for the past 3 flights that I was flying on Etihad Airways, we were flying on their 777, and the quality on their entertainment systems were actually very bad to the point that I can't see the pictures quite clearly. And unlike what we see here, the quality of the pictures is actually very good that I am contemplating on rewatching some of the films that I watched on my past 3 flights on Etihad Airways. 2 hours after departure, I noticed that food was being served, and I took this opportunity to check out my tray table. Now, my tray table looks like it was going to give out anytime soon. I was so scared that this might not support the weight of my food tray because the middle partition here looks like it's about to give out. So I was a little bit worried about that. And just as I suspected, my tray table could not handle the weight of my breakfast tray, and when the flight attendant saw this, she actually gave me a pillow to place under my tray table to support the weight of my food. My breakfast consisted of bread, tea, a small bottle of water, some jam, yogurt with cereals, and a fruit cup. My main breakfast is inside this bento box kind of a thing, and I actually love the plastic packaging of this because I don't like the flimsy aluminum foil they use on top. So my main dish is actually a cheese omelette, which was very good, and I have some fried potatoes on the side, I have a tomato, and I also have fried sausages. I enjoyed this breakfast meal immensely. It was so good. Now, as I've said earlier, it's been a while since I've flown on a Boeing 787, and I do have to say that this flight is turning out to be quite pleasant for me because the past 3 flights that I was on Etihad Airways, we were all flying on a Boeing 777-300ER, and I found those planes to be very tight and cramped. And even if we were sitting at a 9 abreast seating arrangement on this Boeing 787-10, this flight is actually quite comfortable for me. It feels airy and it doesn't feel claustrophobic at all, which I actually appreciate. But truth be told, I would prefer to fly on an Airbus A330 because I find those planes to be more comfortable. Alright, bathroom check time. So this is the bathroom closest to me, right across my seat actually. And this is located on top of the wing. That's why you can see the curvature of the fuselage here. But despite that, there's enough room here. There's even a table for moms to change diapers for their babies. You can stand here comfortably, and there's even a full-length mirror. And one other thing, I like this faux tile sticker design on the wall here. It just adds a nice touch. The bathroom is very simple. You only have some hand soap. You don't have any lotion or perfume, which is kind of sad, but the most important thing is it's clean, and this bathroom actually stayed clean the entire flight, and I could see the crew cleaning it every so often throughout the 8-hour flight, so I really appreciated that. Oh, and by the way, one in-flight tip, always bring with you some Vicks inhaler because this will come in handy when somebody decides to pass gas in the airplane. Now, this flight was equipped with Wi-Fi and I decided to try to connect to it. So after keying in my Etihad guest membership details, I followed the prompt and I was actually quite surprised to find out that I had to pay $4.99 to use the chat service. And if I wanted to do more for unlimited data, I would have to pay $19.99. Now, this was a little bit of a surprise for me because my Paris to Abu Dhabi flight, to use the Wi-Fi and chat service, it was actually free. And this was also the same for my Abu Dhabi to Barcelona flight. So I was a little bit sad about that. And I decided not to connect to the Wi-Fi at all because I didn't want to pay for something that I won't be using for 8 hours. So I just decided to play around with the entertainment system instead. Oh, by the way, on this flight, I tried these 3 products that I picked up from the French pharmacy, and it's from the brand La Rosée, and this is actually a lip balm because we all know how dry the air is on an airplane, so our lips need to be hydrated. And this is a hand cream, and of course, we have to keep our hands well moisturized. And the final product that I am trying on this flight is this La Rosée SPF stick. So I'm a little bit on the fence with the SPF stick because I do not like the effect that it's leaving on my lips. As you guys can see, it looks very greasy on my face, and this is not the kind of an effect that I want on a sunscreen. So I don't know if I'm going to be loving this, but I'll continue to try and play with this sunscreen stick. Now, at this point of the video, it has been a little over 4 hours since we have left Abu Dhabi, and we are now nearing the coast of Myanmar, which is like halfway to our destination. The captain also turned on the fasten seatbelt sign at this point because it gets a little bit turbulent here. Now, based on my experience, every time we cross this part of the Asian continent, it starts to get turbulent. But so far on this flight, it's not as bad as my previous experiences. Now, I think I was very lucky for the price of this multi-city ticket because I only paid $931.90 per person for this entire flight, including the fees for the pre-reserved seats. And the price of this ticket was quite acceptable to me because I actually have a threshold on the ticket price that I'm willing to pay to fly to Europe, and it's always less than $1,000. Now, truthfully, I was first looking at prices for this flight itinerary at Qatar Airways, but $1,200 per ticket is just too expensive for me at this time. Now, 2 hours before landing, a light snack was served, and I actually forgot to take a video of the snack because I was distracted by the movie I was watching. But again, I have this yogurt with some cereals, which I actually love, and I had some tea with it because I try not to drink carbonated drinks while flying. Now, again, I love that I have a cup of yogurts and cereals with my light snacks because based on my previous experience on other Middle Eastern airlines, all you get is a savory snack. So I really appreciate this. We are now an hour away from Metro Manila, and I can already feel the plane starting its initial descent. Now, so far, I'm having a very pleasant experience with this flight, which Etihad should be very grateful for because I was very close on not flying this airline again, basing on my first experience with them flying from Manila to Abu Dhabi. Now, the only unfortunate thing that happened in this flight was that Cholo's entertainment system stopped working 7 hours ago, and this includes everybody on his row and the row behind him. Now, as the airplane is on its final approach into Metro Manila and we're looking at all the lights of the city below us, let me give you my final thoughts on flying on Etihad Airways. It's actually quite good. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. So sometimes with flying, you can just take these things with a grain of salt. But one thing I have to say though is that Etihad Airways needs to level up with their communication because it's very important that you have to be very detailed in communicating when they decide to reassign seats or change your flight details so that you just avoid frustration. Now, in the vein of communications, the Etihad Airways app is not as intuitive as I would have wanted to be. There were some times wherein if I need to go to a specific location on the app, I would have to key in my membership details again, even if I was already logged on. So it can actually get quite frustrating and it's actually quite time consuming. So they should look into this and level up their app. Now, one other thing that I have observed now that I have flown on Etihad Airways is that sometimes the service rendered by the flight crew is inconsistent. There are some flights wherein the crew service is amazing, and there are some flights wherein it's not that good. Like for example, on my Paris to Abu Dhabi flight, I could see that the flight crew were not at their best, and I could just see them rushing about the cabin all the time, especially when they're serving food. Now, I don't know if it's a time management thing, or I don't know if there's a little bit of irritation between the crew, but I can really see this, and I can also feel their energy. So I think they should train their crew some more to understand the paradigm of service. On the other hand, the flight crew on my part of the airplane on this flight on EY428 were actually cool, calm, and collected. And this is the kind of energy I want to see in my flight crew, because I enjoy watching them when they're actually effective and when they are enjoying themselves, because it just gives a different kind of energy into the cabin. Now, kudos, by the way, to the team leader of my part of the cabin, because when she found out that my partner's entertainment system conked out an hour into the flight, she was actually very apologetic, and she tried her very best to make sure that my partner was still having a comfortable flight despite the fact. Alright, so I'm gonna let you guys go now because the plane is about to land. So if you have any more questions about my experience flying on Etihad Airways, please leave them down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Alright, thank you so much for flying with me. I'll see you soon. Bye!